Did you want to know what kind of car it is?
Yeah, it's a brown Ford
Look,
Explorer.
it was right here. It's been stolen. I want to file a report.
A report will not help you find your car.
The police won't find your car.
No, you are the police.
You're gonna call this man, and he'll find your car for you.
I don't get it.
How is this guy going to know who has our car?
The police will tell him.
Why will they tell him and they won't tell us?
Because we pay him, stupid. Right? And he pays the police and suddenly our car appears.
Is correct. Is correct.
Every day, Mexico's corrupt police force undermines civil liberties and promotes lawlessness. The clip you just watched was from the movie Traffic. Traffic was released in 2000, which confirms that police corruption is an ongoing way of life. In the clip, foreign tourists attempt to mentally deconstruct this baffling way of life as two policemen tell them that the police will not solve the committed crime, their car being stolen, but rather that they must call and pay a third party who will locate their car. This surely paints a poor picture of policemen, but to fully understand this issue, we must look at a police force's reasons for being corrupt and how Mexican life promotes this unethical livelihood. Today, we will analyze how poverty, threats, and weak or misguided leaders intertwine to create a truly corrupt country. Poverty is one of the main forces pushing police men and women to corruption. Police receive low pay, generally not enough to cover even their basic expenses, such as food and decent shelter, especially when they must support a wife and kids. This makes them vulnerable to bribes. Police can become dependent on this corrupt form of income and may even begin requiring citizens to pay for their services, exemplified in women's developing grasp of the situation in the clip from the beginning.
Because we pay him, stupid. Right? And he pays the police and suddenly our car appears.
Further, since police are in a position of power, it is easier for them to exploit others, i.e. the citizenry are dependent on police help for solving crimes and maintaining order, so they will part with their money. Corruption is even more tempting since police are unlikely to be caught as only 25% of crime is reported and 5% prosecuted. In fact, police corruption is so bad that Culturegram's notes, bribery is considered necessary when interacting with Mexico's underpaid public servants and intricate bureaucracy. Now, pause and think about the following question. Answer whenever you have a thought. How does poverty in Mexico magnify the susceptibility of policemen to bribes? Poverty can corrupt police officers through their wallets, but drug cartels frequently threaten police and follow through on these threats, leading to a pervasive unwillingness by police to counteract organized crime due to fear for their own safety. While corruption might be defined as being provided with a monetary incentive to act in a manner contrary to what is expected, threats can have the same curtailing effect on police action. Even though it is a police officer's duty to do their best to prevent or stop crime, many police officers avoid crime-infested areas out of fear for their lives. Attacks on police stations also lower morale because of lots of hard work can be destroyed in a few minutes or hours via a coordinated attack. These threats clearly have an effect on the current police force, but also have a significant and arguably even more damaging effect on the force's recruitment. Studies show that less and less educated people are signing up for duty because they don't want to unnecessarily risk their lives if they have a better option. Jose Luis Pinheiro says, "I believe that the number of attacks on police has increased, and now they are more selective attacks, on command centers, and the most obvious reason is that they are trying to intimidate these leaders who try to combat organized crime and also to frighten the rank and file so they don't act. Further, police forces' failure to enter crime-infested areas suggests that they are poorly equipped and lacking in numbers. If there were thousands of police officers available to storm crime-infested areas, one would think that they would be more motivated to do it. But not having the numbers is no excuse for these men and women to forsake their duty. By not carrying out their duty, they have been corrupted." Now, pause and think about the following question. Answer whenever you have a thought. How do threats from drug cartels and other organized crime induce police corruption? Poverty and threats directly affect policemen at ground level, but even still, developed countries have safety nets built in to catch these sort of things, i.e. police commissioners, governors, all the way up the chain of command to politicians and lawmakers. So, why doesn't this work in Mexico? The best answer is that Mexican politicians are weak and easily corrupted. Leading economics professor Edgardo Buscaliglia characterized police corruption as the grandson of political corruption. So, acknowledging this connection, we'll step away from police corruption for a moment and dive into weak leaders and their failure to improve the situation. Let's begin with a clear example of weakness. Mexico's 3 major political parties have all recently been accused of vote buying, which is giving members of another party gifts to buy their vote. If a candidate feels the need to buy their way into office, they clearly believe that the people are not behind them enough and they must cheat. On another note, let's look at laziness. It's present in all of us, but when elected to public office, it is inexcusable. Often in Mexico, politicians' failure to act helps drug lords thrive and allows public servants to enjoy a cushy salary on little to no work. However, most prominent is politicians' ignorance of proven alternative ways of dealing with drugs. For the past 15 years, Portugal has practiced a method called legalization. Instead of criminalizing drugs, they attempt to supply users with safer alternatives, clean needles, and counseling. By taking away the rebellious feeling experienced by many drug users, they have lessened the appeal of drugs and therefore slowed the market. In a country like Mexico, legalizing can slow the drug trade and perhaps eventually bankrupt cartels, but it would require a change in the law. Now, pause and think about the following question. Answer whenever you have a thought. How do weak leaders facilitate corruption through a lack of adaptability resulting in failure to improve the aforementioned conditions? Poverty, threats, and the static state of affairs promulgated by weak leaders intertwines to create Mexico. Policemen and women's low pay and need for cash coupled with the general lack of oversight can lead to corruption. Threats against their lives and cartels' track record of violence can frighten police into submission and away from their duty, while also hurting their recruitment. And lazy leaders prefer to relax with an easy job than do what's necessary and implement legalization laws that have been proven to counteract the drug trade for up to 1,000 times less per person than the current war on drugs. Police corruption is a complex problem with absurdly simple solutions. But if something can be shaken up on one level, a domino effect could rid this crumbling country of its problems once and for all.